All right, we should be live any second now. And here we go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, Bar None 11970. It is currently 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 18th of January, 2017, 2 days before President-elect Donald Trump becomes the potential president of the United States Corporation. Welcome, one and all. I hope you are enjoying your day. And I wanted to talk about something that I found throughout my time trying to quote unquote seek truth. Now, I do have some subscribers who have been following me for years, dating all the way back to my old channel that I shut down at the end of, I think, 2012. And then I took like a week or two off, and then I just got right back into it because I just found seeking truth was just too important for me and for a lot of other people, because when I shut down that channel, I still have my Facebook page and stuff like that, and people were telling me that I was missed, and it was nice to see that positive reaction. So it made me want to come back and try more and harder to seek truth and find out what truth is. Now, for those of you who haven't been following me for a while, give a little background. I started a YouTube channel years ago, back in 2010. I had no idea what I was going to do at that time, so I was just trying to figure out what my channel was going to be about. It wasn't a truther channel by any means, because I didn't know anything about that stuff back then. I wasn't quote unquote awoken. So I actually have a couple of videos, if you check my playlist, to how my first channel started. I was doing these like little cartoon things that I thought were funny, but no one was paying attention to them. So I started looking on the YouTube and see what was popular, and I came across at the time some gold and silver channels. Now, I just started getting back into collecting gold and silver coins, graded coins, um, in 2006. So I had a pretty decent collection at that point of graded coins, some coins directly from the U.S. Mint, some silver and gold coins, and I wanted to make a video on doing that, showing my collection. Now, not knowing anything about the manipulation or anything, just thought it would be a cool idea to show off my collection. Well, people started telling me that, silver is manipulated. People started telling me the government was manipulated, and all this stuff was being thrown at me. And one day, when I was a little bit more trusting back then, one of my subscribers at the time, and I'll just say his name is Jay, um, asked me for my phone number. He said he wanted to talk to me about some stuff. And basically, in about an hour and 45 minute to 2 hour conversation, basically dropped a bomb of information that blew me away, that I knew nothing about. At the time, I thought Obama was a great president. I really thought things were getting better. I was definitely a person that I would be considered a Democrat, and was listening to MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, all of them. I mean, I was definitely drinking the Kool-Aid big time. And then all of a sudden I got bombarded with information that a lot of it back then I did not understand. And it took me a couple of years. And when you start seeking truth, because the one thing when I got that information, it didn't scare me, it didn't anger me. It kind of seemed to make sense at the time, even though I didn't really understand a lot of it. And it made me at that moment, and this was roughly around 2011, around April of 2011, is where my channel, my original channel, really started getting into seeking truth. Now, when you don't really know much and you're basing it just on emotion, you really just don't know where to go. You'll start to listen to people like Alex Jones, Benjamin Fuford, Wilcox, um, a whole bunch of these people. And you start believing in all these different scenarios. You start wondering what's true and what's not. It can be very frustrating in the beginning because you're bombarded with so many different ways to go. I mean, just look at the Earth itself. There are people saying that the Earth is round. There are people saying the Earth is flat. There are people saying it's in a dome. Now, here's the biggest thing that I've discovered about what happens when you seek truth. You ever notice this? Any of you out there that have been seeking truth at all? You ever notice what you find is not truth? And you find that everything that you thought was true is a lie? I mean, look at mainstream media. When you were a kid, you watched TV, you never questioned it. I'm sure even as a teenager, you might not have questioned it. When you started all of a sudden, for whatever reason, wanted to start quote unquote awakening and seeking truth, well, you found out that the media was a lie. Then you look into the government. I'm sure when you were a kid, all the different presidents, you probably looked up to them and said, you know what, one day I could be president, because that's what they tell you. You know, if you work hard enough, you could do anything, including being the president. Well, if you start seeking truth, you find out that that's not the case. That you actually have to be a multi-billionaire. You have to be in certain families, and that you are not elected, you are selected. Let's talk about the monetary system. I'm sure when you were a kid, you used to love getting an allowance, whatever amount that is, wherever you are in the world, and you used to use that money to buy things, and you thought it was the greatest thing until you started seeking the truth about money, and you find out that it's actually a Ponzi scheme based on nothing. It's created to keep you imprisoned. Then you start seeking about your country. And I'm sure growing up, you were taught, especially in schools and on TV and everything from your government, saying you got to be patriotic. You got to really love your country. And then if you start researching, you find out that all countries around the world have been incorporated and taken over by the banks, and they are not what you think they are. And that's why leaders are selected, because they take people that just are punching bags to make you angry at them, while the real people who are in charge, the banksters, the multi-trillionaires, are the ones running the world. Then you think about things like religion. I'm sure when you were a kid, you probably had your parents take you to church. You may have had your communion, or depending on what type of different religious faith, you probably went through a bar mitzvah or some kind of other religious practice. And then all of a sudden you started researching and you find out that a lot of the things that you were told are nothing more than Egyptian symbols and based on the planets and the stars. And if you think about even any god, God is not of this earth. They are in heaven or wherever. Well, that means they are not of this territory. If you are on earth, you are a terrestrial being. If you are not of this earth, what are you? Extraterrestrial. That would make any kind of god an alien in that term, wouldn't it? So the ironic part is, the more you seek truth, the more you just discover how many things are actually lies. And that is the ironic part about this goal. So what is the end goal if you think about it? Is it to tell you that everything is a lie and that is the truth? Because what is truth? Truth is nothing more than a person's perspective from their own individual experience. What may seem obvious to someone may be oblivious to another. And I'll give you a prime example. When I came home last night, I heard this tinging noise that was driving me crazy outside. I thought it might have been my truck, because I've been having problems with my truck. It was like one of those, you ever see those TV shows where all of a sudden they break for a public service announcement and they say this is only a test, and you hear that buzzing, that humming high-pitched noise? Well, I'm hearing that outside. And when I went outside this morning, I heard it again, and I'm like, where is this coming from? So I thought it might be my truck, so I drove it up the road, and all of a sudden I didn't hear it anymore. So I'm like, okay, it's not my truck. And I pulled back by the house, my next door neighbor. I'm hearing this large, high-pitched noise. So I say to my next door neighbor, who's a senior citizen, it's like, do you hear that? And he says, no, I can't hear it. So he's partially deaf, and I didn't even know that, to the point where he cannot hear high-pitched sounds. And then all of a sudden I saw a school bus let out, and I saw a kid walking towards me, and I'm like, listen, do you hear that high-pitched noise? He's like, yeah, it's been there since last night. So I'm like, all right, at least I know I'm not crazy. But it shows that truth is nothing more than a person's perspective. Why do you think all the time when I talk about belief systems, there's a reason why there's the word lie in belief? Because what you believe does not necessarily mean somebody else believes it. So what is the truth? And like I said earlier, if you think about just the earth itself, you have people that will swear up and down that the earth is flat, and they'll give you plenty of examples to prove their cause. And then you'll have people that say the earth is round, and they'll give their proof for their cause. Now, the earth cannot be flat and round, which means one of the two, unless there's another possibility, is a lie. So which is the truth? It basically will boil down to what you believe in. Now, a person on the flat earth side will say it's absolutely flat. But then you'll have people on the round earth side and say, well, it's absolutely round. So we're getting fighting amongst ourselves. So the ironic part about if you are seeking truth, and I think this is why this is so frustrating for people and why we never truly find any answers, is that we end up, the more we seek truth, the more we discover lies. Now, is that the ultimate goal to bring us to the truth? Because if you think about something like if a doctor is trying to find an illness and they can't figure out what it is, well, if you eliminate certain possibilities, then that means you no longer have to go in that direction. So through process of elimination, you come to the result. At least that's what you'd like to think. So maybe in the sense of seeking truth, you're supposed to uncover lies. And when you uncover that lie, that means, okay, that's a direction I don't have to go. And then you continue to go in another direction. But the problem is when we come across a lie that we don't resonate with, instead of saying, okay, this is not the truth, we try and focus on it to see if we can disprove it. And then we become stagnant and we stay on a certain event. And that's why I've seen channels where their intent might be completely genuine, but they get stuck on one particular thing. And if you think about the difference between a pond and a stream, the reason why ponds are all green and gunky and sometimes smell bad is because they don't circulate, they don't move, they become stagnant, which allows plenty of bacteria to grow, and it causes it to corrupt the water, so to speak. But if you have a river that's constantly flowing, you ever notice that that's the most drinkable water? It's the clearest water. It's because it's moving. Like they say, a rolling stone gathers no moss. And we tend, when we find something that we really, in my opinion, that gold and silver will protect people against potential problems in the financial world based on our corrupt monetary system, based on debt. Now, if you think about it, let's say tomorrow they all of a sudden implement a gold standard. So all the people that have gold and silver will be very lucky, might even be very wealthy in that new system. But it's a new system of control because the people that will regulate that system are the ones that can manipulate it. Now, if they can manipulate paper, why can't they manipulate the amount of gold? So how many people own physical gold and silver? Maybe 1% of the population or less in the entire world owns gold and silver to the point where they would be financially wealthy if it became that way. So that would mean millions upon millions of people would still be suffering. And how easily can they control the amount of gold that they say they have or the amount of silver they say they have? They can't manipulate it. And then I remember listening back in like 2011 to people like David Wilcox. And he was talking about the White Dragon Society, and other people were talking about how, there's going to be these white dragons and people that are going to come save us. Well, where are they? It's been years. What are they waiting for? Are they waiting for the apocalypse to happen to come save us? It's a little too late by then. So what is truth? I think, in my opinion, truth is what you resonate with. But if you do not research it, if you do not move forward, if you do not seek deeper levels, you will become stagnant. You will focus on that one thing, and you will basically go no further. You will go no further. And that's why if you see my channel, especially if you've been following me for a long time, and even if you haven't, I have plenty of videos that date over 3 years from now. You can see the difference of how I spoke in the beginning and how I speak now, because there's a growing process. And you notice I talk about all different things, because I feel like if you are going to seek truth, you have to get past what you may perceive as a lie and continue to go forward and eliminate that part from your equation. It's like being in a room with 4 doors. If you open one of the doors and your goal is to try and get out of that room, if you open that door and there's a brick wall, well, you've failed to get out of that room. That just means you no longer have to use that door as an option. So that means instead of 4 choices, there's now down to 3. The problem is most people will open that first door and say, oh God, I failed. Woe is me. I can't believe this. This always happens to me. I wanted to get out of the room. I open the door and look, it won't let me out. Woe is me. And they sit there and cry for the rest of their life. Instead of saying, wait a minute, there are 4 choices to get out of the room. I opened one of the doors and it will not let me achieve my goal. So that just means I no longer have to open that door anymore. And you move on until you eventually find the door that lets you out. So it doesn't matter how many times you fail. If you succeed, that will supersede any failure you'll ever have. But it depends on how motivated you are. And in this world, we are taught to rely on others to take care of us. And this is why I am trying to tell people, not because I want to make videos that are going to get viral and all this other crap, or make things to rock your boat or anything like that. I'm trying to tell you that even people like Donald Trump are not going to save you. If you think he cares about you as an individual, he doesn't even know you exist. So why would he care about you? He can only do so much in a corrupt system. But we are relying on him to come and change everything. Instead of realizing, because you need real eyes to realize, that it is you who is responsible for you and your family's future, or at the very least, your own future alone. And if you rely on other people, just imagine all the corruption that can happen. I mean, if you look at things like old age homes, how many times have you heard the fact that these helpless senior citizens that may be sometimes blind or deaf or just, have mental problems, disabilities, or just physically incapable of doing things, how many people have actually taken advantage of them? Where they've died with bed sores. The problem is most people, unfortunately, are greedy and corrupt and inherently evil, because evil is pretty easy to acquire. It's very easy to take something from someone. It's very easy to take advantage of someone. It's a lot harder to work hard and do things the right way. Because trust me, I know that. The harder I've worked and the more I've tried to stay positive, the less successful I've become, to the point where I'm incredibly struggling right now. But I will always succeed because I will always find a way. But I will always find what I believe to be the right way. I will never go to my next door neighbor and rob them blind so I can earn an extra amount of money. I will not scam people to be able to earn a living. Wrong is wrong, right is right, and it's up to you to determine what that is. So seek your own truth. And if something doesn't make sense, don't be afraid to question. Have a great day.